Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astrology Victoria. Today, with your host Tatiana, to talk about the astrology of the upcoming week from Monday, June the 27th, until Sunday, July the 3rd. And this week, there is a lot to talk about, and things are going to possibly get hot. So let's dive right in and see what's going on in the sky this week. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So, my dear friends, let me put myself in a big, okay, here we are. All right. Let's take a deep breath first because we might need it. Okay, now bear with me. We kick off the week. We still have a lot of this Venus being aspected to things in Gemini, the Aries energy, new beginnings, a lot of the new, the go, and the can I actually go? I'm afraid of going with Chiron. So this energy feels like there's a lot of action and new things coming our way, lots of possible challenges or obstacles, or just our imagination around the fear of moving forward. And this is because Chiron has been very active, and now it's at the midpoint of Mars and Jupiter, so it's sandwiched in between. So this energy suggests that no matter how strong we are, we need to overcome any fear that may come up or may be having or has been coming up in the past weeks or so, and just keep plowing ahead into the new territories. There are a few things happening then in other areas of the chart. So here is the Aries energy forward, then there's the Gemini energy on the side, with Venus trying all these new things. You know, it's the time to see what gives us pleasure. Maybe try a new class, a new thing, a new endeavor. It's the time of curiosity, having conversations, learning things. Venus in Gemini loves learning new things. If you didn't know something, maybe this is the time to learn that new thing, that new skill. With Mercury in Gemini as well, there's a lot of mental activity. Ideas are floating right and left. So things can seem absolutely chaotic because there is so much mental stimulation, so much information, and so much possibility. So the energy is mixed in this kind of forward movement with all these new things, new people as well, because Venus brings also relationships and people. So this is just a little bit of the energy in the signs. Now, we need to take into consideration what's happening with the conversation of these planets, because these energies that are in Gemini converse with the energies in Aries in a nice way. It's a sextile, as you can see, meaning that what's stimulating our mind and our ideas can be put into action with the Aries energy. And we need to be brave and just do it. And it's a good conversation. If you have an idea and once you've made your mind into something, okay, there's so many possibilities right now that you might not even know what it is what direction we're going. We are just like inundated with ideas and tasks, communications, and people. And the courage, Mars, here to actually do it, and the passion. Now we are going to start having a little bit of a difficulty that may come up or a challenge. And this, we will start seeing it a little bit more towards the end of the week, but it's already starting to form. That's what I'm saying. Energy is starting to heat up. The other things happening on June 27th is that Neptune is going to start stationing to go retrograde. And Neptune in its last degrees of Pisces, bringing a whole new sense of spirituality and connection to something higher and divine. When it goes retrograde, we might actually be seeing more clearly or being more aligned with what truly is our spiritual purpose and reason for being here. The inward or retrograde motion makes the energy of the planet be less outside, and Neptune can make things confusing and like the big ocean. And when it comes back in, we might actually start having a little bit more clarity around what the Pisces themes are. So our connection to spirit, our connection to everything as well, and our sense of beings as part of a whole, as part of the ocean of consciousness. So there might be some like realignment happening. At the same time, there are all these other things happening outside. And let's not forget that Pluto and Saturn are still retrograding. So we are reviewing. Whenever we have retrograde motion, there is like a review of the themes of the planets in question. With Saturn, we might be reviewing the structures, the new structures of a new social paradigm or a new way of interacting. Aquarius, with the human family or social values, things that are more concerning the collective advancement. Aquarius rules a little bit of the whole, is the human family. It's also science. It's also all the new and the future. Aquarius is a very futuristic sign where all the new things come up. So inventions, the new things that have been going on in our lives, and new structures that we have been talking about for a while already. And then Saturn, and then Pluto in Capricorn, also giving another deep, hard look at the shadow of the Capricorn themes, the themes around power, structure, pyramidal structures where there's somebody at the top, the institutions. So we're kind of getting a little bit of a last pass of detaching from those old structures or societal structures, because Saturn here is the rule of Capricorn. So these two guys are having also a, let's say, conversation that's not necessarily like this. It's like, I am the ruler of Capricorn, and whatever you are doing impacts me. So the new structures that we're building for a more co-creative reality or a more disconnected reality, that's up to us, have to do with the themes of Pluto and the structures of governments we have had. We're seeing all the, pardon my French, shit come up in institutions, in power, and this is all really collapsing. So this week we have these conversations going, and something that's starting to form is Mars, god of war, action, passion, fearlessness, and anger, any of the above or all of the above. It's going to be in a tense aspect with Pluto, the god of death and rebirth, detachment. And this is where the shit can actually hit the fan, because as this square starts getting a little bit more active, we might be feeling a lot of either anger or a lot of passion or a lot of, there's the spark that's going to make the fuse blow. And it's like the volcano. This is the energy, Mars, Pluto, of a volcano erupting. So you make out of it whatever you want. So I don't know what kind of volcano. So we are having on Tuesday, this is where our new moon comes. And we kick off the week, and now we have the new moon in Cancer. And the themes that we are talking about with the Pluto starting to form this square to Mars, and especially by the end of the week, so we'll talk more about that, are starting to brew. And the new moon is permeated with that energy. Cancer, it's the energy of home. It's the energy of safety. It's a lunar energy. So the moon in Cancer is in its own sign. We seek protection, safety, nurturing. Am I safe in my environment? And also depending where you have your Cancer house, you know, in your own chart, this new moon seeds themes in the area of you feeling safe, of you feeling protected. Or conversely, how do I nurture and protect others? In this manner, the Cancer energy becomes this need for feeling safe. But what happens when we have Pluto and Mars in this like raging inside of us, where there's actual fear for our survival, for our safety? There could be some fear there that is archetypal in nature. It's inside of us. And then that becomes also the Mars wants to be fearless and go ahead and go forward. And Pluto is the dynamite. So this is why we talk about rage and anger and ruthlessness sometimes with this energy, because Pluto just wants to bring all the darkness out of us, and Mars acts it out. So with this energy, the best way to not go into destructive confrontations or have, I don't know, your gas tank blow out is to release the pressure from our own psyche. There can be things outside in our world feeling like a death threat. Why? Because Pluto will make us confront the feelings that we might actually die if we don't defend ourselves. Mars. You know, and because when the safety of the home is threatened, we can go and kill or destroy. You know, if you are like the mama bear and your little cub is in danger, you will go and kill and destroy, you know. So this energy is a brewing soup of some kind of archetypal primal forces around safety, around feeling nurtured. However this plays out in our lives, sometimes it can be something external that we're seeing either in the world or the collective psyche, and especially with Pluto. And why with Pluto? Because Pluto is a transpersonal planet. Transpersonal planets, which are the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they drive more of the collective evolution. So it's not so much like, oh, today in my life this happens because Pluto. It's more like the world is going through this huge, massive upheaval and tension, maybe anger, rage, things, you know, and we are seeing these things around war. I don't watch a lot of the news just to not be feeding a lot of the energy that precisely can become like, they're coming, you know. Let's not feed that energy. However, this in the collective psyche might be coming up, and these themes might be actually expressed. You know, it's interesting how I remember back in, you know, in the times of the Cold War, I was a child, but I remember the fear of the button, you know, and then It's almost like something like it's a similar sensation that there's a collective fear around the survival of our species. And this might be coming from thoughts of war. And for those who are in those situations right now, my heart goes out to you, because there are people actually dying also in these different places in the world. And that is part of the collective energy. So the best thing now to do to work with this energy is to release the pressure in your own life by, I would say, a few things. First, take deep breaths when you feel the thing coming up, and this is here in your third chakra, here, the solar plexus, when it gets like activated, and it's like you feel like, oh, it's going to explode. First thing, you can actually take your fingers and push here, the vagus nerve, and do these little things that will release actual pressure from your physical body. And this will release that tension. And you do this a little bit. That's one thing you can do. Remember, I always give you practical things to do. Second thing, deep breaths. So that's why I said, do it with me. You breathe in, then you count 4, holding, and then you breathe out slowly. This is a way to calm the nervous system down and to allow for all that to sink down. The other thing, get like a punching bag, or go for a run or a big hike to blow off steam, literally blow off steam. So if your thing is the gym, go and do some like really strong spinning or running in the treadmill or your punching bag, and get it out of the psyche. And once that's released, okay, that energy of anger will hopefully not be directed at someone you love or you don't love, you know, because that's what could happen. The feelings can be very explosive, again, like we said. So these are my practical advices for you in times where there could be really difficult crises coming. Let's remember that the moments of crisis, which are usually the squares between planets, signify tensions. And when there's tension, there is like a loaded string or a loaded elastic. And this tension usually makes movement. It's not stale. So that's the good thing, is like this energy helps us also with the moving forward with projects. So that's the other side of the coin. The energy of anger and rage can be turned into energy of passion, raw passion. And it's like sexual energy. You know, Pluto and Mars can be very raw sexually also. It's the primal Kundalini force, or it's the primal libido. So if you reuse that energy in a constructive way and not a destructive way, imagine how much you could get accomplished. So you see, this is a way to turn around a tension or a square into a positive thing. Take that and go and move forward with those projects that again, with this Chiron sandwich here, you know, just go bravely. Take the courage of Mars and the dynamite of Pluto to keep moving ahead. So this week, we might have a lot of energy at our disposal. Now, there's another few things that are going on. So this is the new moon energy. So it's this mounting square getting there. There is the retrograding of Neptune occurring exactly as the new moon occurs. So where we're going to see more clearly where we stand as spiritual beings on this planet. Like literally, we might be even asking ourselves, what are we doing to our planet? What are we doing to our human race? Like, help, and remember, ask and you shall receive. And moving on a little bit towards the rest of the week. So this is when things like, amp up really big towards Friday, July 1st. And it's interesting because here in Canada, that's Canada Day. So woohoo, that is going to be a loaded day because this is where the square of Pluto and Mars is most exact. And, this is when things could trigger whatever triggers. So if you want to avoid those triggers, start loading off the steam right now and putting it into action to something constructive and positive. Yay. Okay. And let's see what's going on. So we have also a very interesting little aspect here. We've been talking about Mercury in Gemini with all these ideas, new things, communication, tons of dispersion and new things, basically. And there's two things going on. First, Mercury is going to be squaring Neptune. Dun, dun, dun. And what happens when that happens? It's like a Mercury retrograde feeling where the mind, Mercury, can get a little bit confused or lost in a fantasy or in wishful thinking. It is possible that we are duped by something outside. Information can be confusing. Maybe there is, again, misinformation and we believe lies. Or conversely, we could be also not being completely honest or truthful. And, kind of, if you confuse people, then blah, blah, and blah. You got it? And people are like, what? And then you think you can get away with things by creating this kind of like, or we are in fantasy land thinking that something is, like not exactly the way it is, but the way we perceive it to be, or the way we wish it to be, but it's really not that, Is the rose-colored glasses also kind of effect where we're just seeing like, oh, everything's so beautiful, but not really. Well, life is great, but not really. And so this is a time to be discerning around your own thoughts as well. And it's a good time also to think, Mercury, and think of your spiritual values. Think of, you also dream, Neptune, it's dreams. And when it's touching Mercury, there could be also some, writing down your thoughts, putting out your dreams as well out there, like seeking different options. But the thing is that with the Gemini energy, there can be so much confusion because there is so much information everywhere. There's information, there's misinformation, there's perception of how I perceive the information, and then somebody else perceives it otherwise. So the Gemini, the positive side about Gemini is that it allows to take into consideration different perspectives. And that is the really positive thing of having Venus and Mercury in Gemini, that we might be able to see different perspectives as well and make informed decisions. Where does the informed decision come from? Guess what? So as much as Mercury can be prone to deceptions here with this square to Neptune, and I'm sorry that it's a little bit blurry, but I'm just showing you this little line, difficult conversation. The one that makes things more discerning and focused is Saturn here in this trine, this blue line with this triangle going to Mercury. Mercury and Saturn trine. That is the beautiful energy of focus, being a little bit more realistic, stopping and thinking before blurting. It disciplines the mind and it helps with discernment. So as much as we might have a little bit of fantasy going on and wishful thinking, there is also at the same time capacity to discern. This is right, this is not right. I don't know about this. It seems like to be fishy. So I don't think I'm going with that. I'm thinking I'm going with this, you know? So this is also a great time to define also your thoughts. How are we thinking? And this is something very important. And I said this in another video I recorded for the twin sign expert, Dr. Harmony, on our monthly astrology videos. And you can check that out as well. I'll put it down in the description box below. In Spanish, we have a phrase that's I believe and I create. It's the same word. I say, yo creo, I believe. Yo creo, I create. Same word, same phrase. For me, that insight about what I believe is what I create is not so quite literal, but a lot of the time it is. What we feed our thoughts and what we feed our inner world as so within, so without, is what eventually occurs in our world. And you may say, yes, but I'm thinking all the time about this, you know, red Corvette, and the red Corvette has not appeared. Whatever, right? It's more this sponsoring thought. Neil Donald Walsh calls the sponsoring thought in his book, Conversations with God, the actual feeling beyond or behind an actual thought. Because sometimes we can be having wishful thinking or phrases, blah, 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 but the feeling or the emotion is not connected to it. So the sponsoring thought is the actual vibration. So if I say, I am in the red Corvette, and you know you're on it and you feel on it, then it might actually come to your life. A lot of the time, and this is a little bit comes from, you know, The Secret and manifestation, is we think that the feeling is not nourished enough to know that it already exists in a parallel reality that we need to just access. So going back to this trying to Saturn to Mercury, this is about how we think. Our thoughts, let's discipline our mind a little bit. Because if there is this, well, it's very difficult to just have focused concentration and notice. This is a good time to notice. How do you think? How do you think about things? How do you even think about information that's given to you? This is good for critical thinking. Saturn trine Mercury, critical thinking. Wait a minute. You're not going to dupe me this time. I've been through this. Right? Because we might be, again, getting bombarded with a bunch of information and things and media and who knows, or even in our personal lives, people coming in that are not like, and the critical thinking around things is very important, and our own thought processes. This energy is also very productive to sit down and write that email, write that contract, or write that structure that is going to be more permanent. This is a time where you can make more agreements, verbal or written, that are going to be set more to last in the long term. Why? Because Saturn rules over time and things that will withstand the test of time. And when we have the right thinking and we're discerning, then we can put it in paper, we can put our agreements and move forward. And why I'm saying also agreements, because, well, Gemini, it's the energy of communication, and anything written, anything verbal, anything spoken. So what agreements or what communications are you having that need some good discernment and thought process in your life? You see, so this week is kind of, I feel like a lot of this year is so crucial, like June, July, very crucial months in moving forward. And moving forward with what? This Aries energy, this cycle is a big cycle because Jupiter, it's entering, again in Aries. It's going to be here for like about a year, right? Give or take. And And anytime, we have these ingresses of these planets, there is something new. And Aries is not only Jupiter entered Aries for this year, but it's the first sign of the zodiac. So it marks a really big new chapter in our lives. Now, the other things that are going to be starting to get hot, it's with Uranus here and the North Node almost closely conjuncting, but we'll talk about that next week and the following, because there are a lot of shifts and shakeups in the way we get our resources, and we've talked about this also a lot. And there might be big movements once Uranus hits the North Node, and we're just pushed into the new ways of getting resources, yes or yes, So that's part of it. Let's see what else do we have Saturday. We're still, this still, okay. I kind of wanted to bring this up as well, because on Saturday, the moon, even though this is a very fleeting, the moon moves very fast, but wherever the moon is, and as much as we might not feel it so strongly, the moon rules over our moods, like it rules over the tides, and the tides go up and down every day. And with the moon cycles, they might pull it up or down. So if we are in tune with our emotions, we might be more capable of listening to what's going on in our being. And here, when the moon is going to be opposing Saturn on this July 2nd, as Pluto and Mars are in this difficult square, and so much volatility, I would say, with Uranus being very volatile, a lot of the very shaking up things in our resources, the Cancer energy of home and feeling nurtured and safe, and then the Gemini energy of all these new things and scatteredness and mental energy. As you notice, there is not, there's a lot of fire, a lot of passion, Aries, and the moon in Leo. I feel there's a part of us that is like, like self-expression is going to be a little bit not, how do we put it, we want to be who we are in the world and not who we are not. And when we have moon Saturn aspects, we might feel like something is oppressive, even depressing sometimes. And this moon is squaring the nodes as well. This is almost like this crossroad that we've been talking about, as Saturn is also squaring nodes. So we have this grand cross here, like this shoop, shoop, which is a big crossroads. In what world are we choosing to live in? How do we choose to live on this planet? Do we choose the road of pain and suffering, Scorpio, or do we choose the road of pleasure and beauty and stability, Taurus? The choice is always ours, and our life will push us forward, yes or yes, Uranus in Taurus. The process is what can differ from person to person. It can be either a very painful process that involves a lot of ego death or inner deaths, or it could also involve a little bit of transformation energy, which is different. Transformation means I step into the new, knowing that I have no control over the new, only the desire to move forward with the trust that there is something divine, that there can be pleasure in life, that I can do something I really truly want in my soul, that I can be aligned with a purpose. And yes, life can be a beautiful paradise if I just let it be, if I just trust. this is just very important. We can create that garden on earth. And this is where I feel like this split of earths is almost happening. You know, Dolores Cannon's talks about the split of earth, where some souls choose a way of life and others choose a different way of life. And that's what we experience, even though we're on the same physical planet. The experience of it, it's different. Have you already made your choice? What are you working towards? What are you creating? And are you shedding all those old beliefs and all those old systems, letting them go, where there is actual inequality and where there's actual pain and where there's actual drama? Yeah. And I did forget to mention also a little other thing that was going on a little bit earlier in the week, which is still active. It's Jupiter squaring Jupiter square the sun. Jupiter square sun. Yes, that's actually at the beginning of the week. And it will still be in action. So when Jupiter squares the sun, there is also the possibility of feeling that the ego is too big. And because there is this difficulty with Mars and Pluto here, and the ego inflation possibility, there could be a might is right kind of energy. So let's watch for that in our own lives, you know, because might does not necessarily make right. Review your values, review what you really stand for, and review. I would ask also for compassion. There is something that we might be lacking with a lot of this energy, is compassion. When you are in survival and in adrenal situations, well, there is not much room for compassion and love and grace. Let's face it, right? So the invitation is to no matter what we're going through in our lives, to have compassion, first and foremost, for ourselves. That's the first. Hey, I love you. I love you. Yes, I'm saved. I'm saved. I'm loved. That's the first thing. And have compassion for others that might be suffering, others, you know, that may be in situations that maybe it's not your situation, but they might be in difficulty, and send them love. Sometimes, you know, we feel, yes, we need to be out there acting in the world. Let's go, let's sign petitions, let's go, let's move, let's be. This is like this revolutionary energy that's going to be cooking in July, very big revolutionary energy that's going to start cooking this month again. Let's charge, let's move, you know. The other way of this revolution sometimes is a more quiet one. It's an internal one where I shift all my feelings and thoughts and I go in the heart. And sometimes what we can do also, and even though it might seem like, well, but I'm doing nothing, you are doing something in another dimensional field. And if you're listening to this, you know what I mean. And if you have never come across this information, well, just, you know, be open to it. Be Gemini about it. Radiating love energy out, just like a lamp, a big ball of light. If you focus on that, just by the energy alone moving out of your heart and your light and your own peace and sense of safety, can be helping many people at an energy level. This is a very subtle level, a level we don't necessarily see, because we see the news, we see the physical, we see these things, but the energetic, we don't see it. But when we feed that, it's like bringing ripples of light to people around us. And sometimes those ripple of lights can reach really far and wide. So my invitation is, if we know that there are people right now that are the brave people of the world actually fighting for their survival, let's send love and light and compassion to that part or those parts of the world, wherever they are. There are many right now, many upheavals. We might not even know where it is, but we connect to our hearts and just do this with me. and say, we are all one. You know, visualize this humanity as a beautiful ball of light enveloped in love. You can also visualize a beautiful pink color. Let's use Venus a little bit here, you know, and because uh, communication is very much in the mix, you know, Venus there, like the voice is very important. Speaking up, listening. It's not just speaking, communication is listening and speaking, bringing beauty, words of encouragement and loving words. That's courtesy of Venus. How can we be more kind and gentle in our communications? Let's use that energy productively. Yeah, whoa, this was a big, we unpacked a lot for this week. So I hope you get something out of this. You take my little advices and move with it as things go by. Put a little post-it note if you forget. Write down the dates, July 1st, pressure cooker. So let's send a lot of love on that day and compassion to our world and our friends and families. And woohoo! All right, so with this, I'm going to sign off. Please feel free to share, subscribe, and like this video. Also, look in the description below. I have all my offerings there if you want a reading with me. And well, I'll see you next week for our next week's astrology. Love you all. Bye.